Hello and welcome to the Career Success Podcast. I'm Jason Connolly. If you're a regular listener, it's great to have you back, but if you're new, a big welcome to the show. In this series every week, we speak to the biggest names in business all across the globe. We talk about their career stories, the lessons learned, how they overcome challenges, and what success habits they practice. This is practical advice to help you in your career. If you have a passion for business, then this is the podcast for you. In this episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Emma Holmes from Southwest in the UK. Emma Holmes has a passion for creating and living a life on purpose. Emma has been scratching since the year 2000 when she discovered she had a love for fresh scratching and funky hip hop. After much time spent learning techniques and developing her flow, she found a way to break things down for anyone who wants to learn the art. Emma founded Studio Scratches in 2008 and opened School of Scratch in 2014 and is dedicated to assisting her students to become excellent at the art of scratching. School of Scratch is one of the world's leading online schools, and Emma has built a supportive community to help people learn how to scratch DJ using a complete set of video tutorials which form her ultimate How to Scratch DJ course. Emma applies these same life skills as a life coach, where she breaks things down for anyone who wants to learn how to create a more deliberate life. Emma shares a philosophy inspired by this quote by Henry David Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined. Emma's coaching clients describe her as calm, awesome, kind, non-judgmental, and possessing an abundance of positive energy. Emma is an avid surfer, skateboarder, traveller, and music lover. Emma, thanks for joining me on the show.
Hi, Jason. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Now, Emma, you are such an interesting guest. We have had so much variety on the Career Success Podcast since we've started, but never before have we had someone who's got such an interesting vocation as being an innovator and being someone who's bringing the world of scratching to the world. So tell us about you and your career and how you even got into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So this all started, I started to learn to DJ when I was at university in Plymouth with my housemates, and it sort of became, a thing that I discovered that I really liked. My brother was showing me some DJing one day, which is scratching, which is like moving the record backwards and forwards. Maybe we can drop a video in there so people can see what it actually
yes,
is.
And for anyone that's still in some kind of confusion, it's when you kind of see someone holding their hand up to their ears, moving backwards and forward on the disc. That's what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. So don't touch the record. I was brought up with that mentality, completely went out the window. And I just fell in love with this art form, and it really spoke to me. So it was sort of what I was doing for fun, really. I studied multimedia design at university. And then when I left, I got a job for a company in London designing interactive training for financial services. So people like Prudential, Norwich Union, which I think is now Aviva. So really kind of, sort of coding, a bit of graphics, all that kind of stuff. But in that job, I was like, okay, I've done the university thing. I've got a job. I'm getting paid quite well, but I just felt completely unfulfilled.
Something was missing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always been driven by kind of lifestyle and fulfillment. So I chose my university based on location to the beach because I'm a surfer. I grew up skateboarding. So that's always influenced my life choices and decisions. So I was, working at this company, doing well. And then I just got to the point where I thought, you know what, I want to do something different. All this time I was exploring DJing and meeting people in Bristol and, practicing this art form. But it was just, I didn't ever think it would be like a career. I didn't have aspirations to be like, a world-class DJ in clubs, but it was just something that I loved. And then I think the turning point came when I decided to ask my work for 2 months sabbatical unpaid leave. And I spent, I think it was July, surfing around the UK, Southwest UK. And then in August, I flew over to San Diego to work on the Paskowitz surf camp. And just, I'd always had a fascination, grew up watching sounds cheesy, but watching Baywatch and loving surfing and just wanted to be in California. And that kind of, opened my eyes and perspective to, oh, there's other things I want to do. This job.
Was that kind of being around people who were maybe surfing and, people that may be somewhat free spirited and, weren't necessarily, being in the office kind of environment that you were, that was kind of a kind of pivotal moment where you just thought, nope, that's it. I'm going down a different path here.
Yeah, well, I think that was already in me. So just going and being with, these like-minded people and just getting to experience, this lifestyle that I'd always dreamed about. But also I realized that I didn't want to just surf all day. Like I needed something else to put my focus on, some kind of work or vocation where I could make some kind of difference. But it just, I got to that point where I was ready to do something else. So I think I came back to the UK in September, and I think I lasted about 2 months at my job. And I handed in my notice and said, thank you very much, but, I'm done, which was...
And did you have a plan at the time when you handed in your notice?
Kind of. I just thought, I'm going to do something completely different just to change things up. So I actually decided to train as a massage therapist at our local college. I got part-time jobs doing just like manual work where I didn't have to think about anything. I could just turn up, do the work, come home, and then focus on the study. I think I was even a postwoman as well because I was out on the bikes. I liked that. That was quite fun.
You sound like me, Emmy. I've had many a job too. It sounds so. You went on this massage course, and you thought, like, this is going to give me kind of the life that you were thinking that was, right for you at the time.
Yeah, I just wanted to sit, not be in the office and think maybe this would be, it's more hands-on. Literally, I could, have my own business, work the hours that I wanted to. But when it came down to it, I actually liked getting the massages because we would practice on each other. But I actually giving the massages was just, I found it exhausting. Like,
so yeah, it's hard work, isn't it? Like when I doing an hour's massage, that must take it out of you.
It's a real art form, and to be present with the people, and do that for 8 hours a day, I quickly realized, like, oh, this isn't going to be my thing. But all this time I was, buying records from America, scratching, practicing. The art of scratching is kind of like a martial art. There's different moves and you can do different training. So it's just kind of, exploring, not really knowing what I was doing.
It sounded like you were doing a lot of soul searching at that time, knowing that it wasn't right, but knowing you wanted to do something. And how did it kind of progress from there?
So at this point, I was kind of like reading various books about, various kind of mindset type things. And then I was doing like a little bit of sort of creative visualization, thinking about what I wanted, having pictures. I think The Secret might have been out. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, by Rhonda de Berg, and I like it, and I remember reading the book years and years ago. I actually bought into it. I didn't buy into every kind of thing it said, that if you want a parking space, you need to imagine that the parking space is empty. Or does it work?
Does, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, right. Maybe I do need to start doing it more literally. But I do agree with the book, and for anyone that hasn't read the book, basically it's positive attracts positive, and negative attracts negative. And if you live a life of gratitude and positivity, then you're going to bring that in abundance to yourself. That is the underlying principle of the book.
Yes, and I believe in applied action as well. But the thing it gave me was like having this, very visual picture of the life I wanted and what that would look like. And I remember it very well. I'd written in this, I had this big like sketchbook, and I'd put pictures in and write things of what I wanted. And I'd written in there.
Like a mood board.
Yeah, kind of like or a vision board. One of those
vision board. Yes.
I was writing, and I'd write things, and just, it was my space to just, explore what that would look like for me. And I'd written that I wanted to be, connected with like-minded people that were doing cool stuff. And literally about 2 or 3 hours later, I received a call from one of my friend's cousins, who was an entrepreneur in the web design, web development space, but was also a musician. And he'd seen one of my DJ videos, of me scratching, which
Ah.
didn't even have any sound because it was like really early on before YouTube. It was just a clip of me doing this technique, and he was fascinated and started talking to me and said, "What, who are you? What can you do?" Turned out I could do a bit of web design. He was in a couple of really big bands in the UK. He'd actually be really good to talk to as well on this show. But I got to work with him doing website design and development, and really, started to get an education in, kind of an MBA in entrepreneurship and the mindset required. So he was like a mentor to me and helped me a lot. That was really interesting.
And because I'm guessing when you've been scratching since the year 2000, and that's even got a buzz about it. But back then, how did you even get to the point of learning it and
Yeah.
kind of becoming good at it?
So way back then, there was like one VHS videotape. I think it was
Right.
called Turntable. They call scratchers turntablists, like the turntable. That's the name of them, and it was called Turntable Mechanic Workshop, I think, or Vestax Masterclass. And I watched this video, and there was like, I think, 5 techniques or so by a guy called Prime Cuts. He's on Instagram. You can check him out. And he was like one of my scratching heroes, and I was learning all these little techniques. And then I knew a few people in Plymouth, and then they connected me to some people in Bristol, and I started to travel up there, once a month or so, and we kind of swap ideas and swap what they knew. It's a very underground thing that not many people were doing, but it's a really amazing community, very welcoming.
Why was that? Was that because the music it was still quite new in the music world then, or was it just there was a lack of information about it around?
Yeah, it was an evolving art form. So it all, it
Right.
came from, out of hip hop, and in America. So the Southwest UK is kind of the complete opposite, side. So it hadn't fully made its way, over. But it was just, that it was way before YouTube came out. And then DVDs started to come out with more techniques from a guy called DJ Qbert, and he was breaking things down. He was like the main guy, doing the teaching. Another guy called Rob Swift. So I would just pick up bits from what I'd seen on these videos and DVDs and what my friends had showed me. And it was just a case of, it was hours a day. I used to spend probably 4 to 8 hours a day in the evenings, just, playing around.
Becoming a master in scratching.
Yeah. Like the 10,000 hour thing that, if you heard people say it takes 10,000 hours to master something.
I've actually not heard of that saying, and I'm surprised I haven't heard of it,
I
actually.
think it's a guy called Malcolm Gladwell. I think he quoted it. I can't remember, but if you Google it, it will come up, the 10,000 hour rule. I probably hit 10,000 hours, I would say.
And because when you did this MBA, you met this mentor who, and you obviously had this kind of creativity and this website building knowledge. But so you founded Studio Scratches in 2008, and that was 8 years after you started the art form of scratching.
Yeah, so that came from. It wasn't an actual MBA, but I call it like an MBA of just, intense learning through doing the work.
And sometimes I think, do you actually learn more on well, I've never done an MBA in business, so I wouldn't know. But I definitely went to the University of Life, and probably would be a professor by now with the amount of mistakes I've made over the years to get to where I am.
Yeah.
But you learn, I think, some of the best lessons by making mistakes. So you went along that journey. Tell us how it all kind of got started with Studio Scratches and what that was all about.
Yeah, so I was working with them and doing the the website design, but I was always thinking, what do I want to do? And then a book came out called The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't heard of that book. No. It sounds like a book I need to read.
I think you'll love it. So it's kind of a classic I'm not sure what year it came out, but it was back around then. And he was basically saying, create a business where, ideally you only work 4 hours a week so you can live, the life that you want to live. And I was like fascinated with that idea.
Sounds like a beautiful philosophy
Absolutely.
in theory.
Yeah. So he created this side business, and I was just exploring what could I do that I love and enjoy, and I started to think about scratching and DJing. So I never really wanted to be, a world famous, traveling DJ for some reason. That wasn't really on my radar, mainly because scratching's, was a little bit more underground. But I had this idea that, oh, I could record scratching for hip hop artists, which is quite, you'll hear it on albums or tracks. So that was the idea for studio scratches. And then off of that came the idea for, really, it came from when YouTube, was on the up. One of my friend DJs said to me, oh, can you make a tutorial for this guy? Because I scratch with my crossfader reversed, which is just a style of DJing. It's a little bit technical, but imagine you drive on the left, I drive on the right. So I said, yeah, I can make this tutorial. And I put it on YouTube, and it just started to get loads of hits. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting, because I did want to be a famous scratch DJ, just, doing the scratching. But I realized that I could actually teach. And I was tired at that point of, late night clubs. I love getting up early, going surfing, and they were kind of clashing. So the whole idea for studio scratches was I'll be in my studio and it's scratching. It'll be, it was at a time when there was like smoking in clubs, and I didn't get on with that very well. So the idea of having this clean studio space and to do scratching, that's really where the idea was born. And then, so I just started to make video tutorials on YouTube. And then the idea for School of Scratch came, and that took me another 7 years to make, 7 or 8 years.
And kind of, I'm guessing you must have felt there was, some real level of demand out there. I'm not sure by the time it got to 2014, were you kind of much past the VHS and the DVDs and so forth? But did you feel that there was a real demand and appetite for that?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. It was a little bit of a gamble. And in all of this, I went to work at the Apple retail store just to have something very consistent that I could, pay the bills and not have to think about, freelance work. But when I just come up with the idea, actually, another DJ came up with the same idea. And I was like, oh no, like, why would I? He's like the best DJ in the world. He's creating his online school. Why would I create mine? Which I luckily quickly...
Which I guess at the time is a natural kind of, reaction for you to think, well, it's being done by someone I really respect. How did that kind of go? Well, actually, no, I'm going to do it too.
Well, I realized that it's not a zero-sum game. It's like he's him. He does it his way. Also, I'm female. I do things slightly differently. So I just decided to embrace, I thought I had something to offer. I didn't really know. It was a gamble. So, eventually I saved up, I worked at Apple. I was going to be there 1 year, ended up being there 4 years. Really amazing team. Loved working there. Got promoted, which helped. So then once I got a promotion, I dropped a day. So I only did 4 days a week, which gave me a bit of time. And then eventually had a few detours. Like personally, I decided, right, I'm going to create a School of Scratch. I don't care if it's not successful in like financial terms. It's just something I need to do, because if I don't do it as an expression, I'll always be wondering, like, what if?
Well, exactly. And it's not easy to launch kind of any website and to get traffic onto it. So what was it kind of like from, when you launched it to actually thinking, I'm getting people coming on and they're paying me, and this has now become business?
Yeah. So the whole time from when I started Studio Scratches, I'd had a blog. So I was giving away loads of free content, and I'd make free music loops called beats for people to use in their scratching. So that people kind of knew who I was, because I'd just given so much free stuff away on YouTube. And then I did a test to see if anyone would be interested, like did a small scale version of the school. Couldn't keep it up because I was working full time. And then I collected, I think it was only about 1,000 email addresses out of my whole email which was about probably 5,000, 6,000. And it was those 1,000 that said they were interested in the school, that when I'd built enough of the school to launch it, it wasn't finished, but there was enough. I launched it and enough people signed up. I was running out of money. Enough people signed up that first day, May 27th, 2014. And it gave me enough money to do the next month. And I was like, okay, have you heard Richard Branson say, just make enough money to make the next record?
I have indeed heard of that say. Yeah. I have heard that quote, yes.
I was literally doing that, just, kind of winging it. And, it evolved, and I'm grateful for the students that signed up, and, stuck with the community really became the thing that people were interested in, the space that I'd created. It was supposed to be an online course, but I, made this community on the side, like a forum and a Facebook group. And that's really where it grew into something beyond what I could have imagined.
Which is really kind of clever, but I guess it sounded to me, and I know we discussed this before we recorded this episode, It sounded like it was a non-intentional act, but that's kind of become one of the most successful parts of the whole School of Scratch is indeed the fact you have a community, and you've got people there that, are big advocates of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Setting up this space where it's not competitive, it's very welcoming, it's open, it's friendly, everyone helps each other, really, everyone knows each other, even though we're all spread out all over the world, literally east to west, the whole globe. People have really latched onto this space to come, and, it's non-judgmental. You can, be a complete beginner and everyone's going to cheer you on. And I think that's kind of unique, especially in, some of the DJ or, music circles. We've been really fortunate in the people that come, and because people are paying, they're invested. It's not like YouTube.
Yeah.
People just, leave comments.
What's happening in the school as of 2021? What's it like at the moment? And to tell us about the kind of journey and successes you've had along the way.
Yeah, so I think I launched with about 16 videos, and now there's 125 tutorials. So there's enough tuition in that school for people. There's probably 10 years worth of training if you really, go all in with it. So not that
which you've managed to do in less than 10 years.
Yeah, I did that in probably 2 or 3. Well, my scratching took, probably 14 years to get to that point. But, I built that in probably 2, 3, 4 years. And then my work shifted to nurturing the community. So we have every month I set them a different scratch or different technique to work on. So they'll practice that. I run 100 days of practice where they practice every day for 100 days. And I tell them what to practice and what days. Because that's half when I was learning, I didn't really know what to practice and there was no structure. So I've given them a framework where I've worked out what they need to do to make the most progress in the most efficient way.
And I'm not sort of an expert when it comes to kind of subscription learning platforms, which I guess, when you strip it back, that's what you are. But it sounds to me that you've kind of got the formula right in not just getting people on to, learn and then, they don't necessarily stay with you. You're kind of engaging with the audience all the time and giving them different things, so it's fresh, and you've got the forums and whatnot, so people want to be it sounds to me like it's almost a membership rather than someone just literally subscribing. You're kind of part of a community, and you're a member of something that's kind of ever evolving and developing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a membership. We have a monthly membership, but the other thing I've done is for people that really want to invest, I do a lifetime membership. So they pay, a higher fee, and that gives them lifetime access. And what happens is those lifetime members, they're so invested in themselves and the school that they're the ones that go on to become ambassadors, and they're in the community, talking to each other, posting videos, helping the new people, because it's bigger than I could I can't be in there 24/7, so it's become
It's kind of
difficult.
outgrown
Yeah,
your amount of time
yeah,
there.
it's not it's really amazing because it's outgrown me, and I'm here holding the big space for everyone, and I'll drop in and show up and encourage people, but
Now, when people turn up, it's Emma Holmes. Oh, wow.
yeah,
She's here. She's here. We can't believe we're seeing you, Emma.
I want to just say
The
hello.
ultimate queen of scratch. She's come in the forum. People put the red carpet out or something like that.
Kind of. Yeah,
All right.
we do have it's funny because we do have like a live room where so people can broadcast their scratching live in this room to each other. It's private, so we know it's not public. Everyone's that is in there is
It's a safe
yeah,
space for people
absolutely.
to practice in
And it's
private.
amazing, but sometimes if I show up and start scratching, it's like everyone, because I'm not ahead, but I've been doing it longer. People don't want to go next, so I tend to just leave them to it now. And occasionally I'll go in, and it's good fun. People want to know stuff, and
Yeah, we're not following Emma. No way, no way.
yeah,
I'm not going on it. Great, and kind of, I guess, kind of talking more generally about your kind of experiences. There's probably people who listen to this show who think, I've got a passion, and I'm not necessarily living the life I want to live. Perhaps I'm stuck in the office job that I don't want to be in, and I feel that I'm more creative. What kind of advice would you give to people, speaking generally in that term?
yeah. I'm a big believer in overlapping. Don't quit your job like I did. I was lucky I had a lot of support from my family, but just to start thinking about what it is you do want, what would that be like, what would life look like, and just to start living that life any way you can right now.
And I think that's powerful as well, because you went through this kind of creative process of sketching out what it is that you wanted to do, and you did do what was an incredibly bold move, and probably with my recruitment hat on, would say to people, never quit the job without having another job. But
Yeah.
we come across people who do that, and sometimes it's very hard to kind of have the time to pursue what it is that you actually want to do when you've got that full-time job. And I think it sounded like everything kind of aligned quite nicely for you with the drop down in days, but I guess not everyone is in that kind of situation where that they've maybe got that flexibility in order to do that. What would you say to someone that might be thinking, I'm skilled at something and I want to set up my own kind of, and I'm sure you've been through loads of challenges and tricky situations along the way, but some of it maybe wants to set up their own tutorial school. What would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it was very easy. It definitely wasn't. I went through my whole share of being too tired after work to like do anything, but I think if you look at how you're spending your time, and if you can just dedicate an hour a day, or maybe some more time at weekends, and just like I started by giving everything away for free. I think with Instagram, YouTube, you can start to, be known for who you are and what you do without having to quit your job, but just giving, being of service, just starting to explore what might be possible. I think that's what I would say, and look at, if you're watching TV after work, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to do that, but it's investing in you and investing in your future self. So any way you can spend time, I think people do have some time. You'd be surprised if you just do a little bit each day.
And that's what I say to people about self-investment and investing in you. Half an hour a day is 2.5 hours a working week, and those hours stack up. And a lot of people, I think, when you sort of strip your time back, and I remember when I first got into recruitment, and I'm sort of going off on a tangent here, Emma. I didn't get any training in the recruitment industry, but what I did every single day was I listened to audiobooks, and I used the time walking to and from work as kind of my mobile university time of soaking in psychology stuff, sales stuff, and my walk to work and back every day. I thought, well, I spent half an hour walking to work and half an hour back, but a day. That's why I kind of developed so quickly in the industry, was because I was spending 5 hours a day learning from books. And obviously these books, and even your academy, like you've rightly said, or your school even, you've got hundreds of hours of material. And sometimes, the answers to a lot of, I think, career development issues can be found in materials around, but it's kind of going out there and actually looking at what's out there for you and what's going to connect with you or what you're going to sort of buy into. But there's loads of, I think we live in a world now of information overload. If anything, sometimes I think it's hard to know where to start looking, because there's so much now. There's an abundance, and even if you listen to podcasts, there's more podcasts than you could ever listen to in a lifetime. But that wasn't what life was like when you started back in the year 2000.
Well, I was thinking as you were saying that, how did I had an hour commute each way plus a 9-hour day. So that's 11 hours out of my day when I worked at Apple. And I literally would listen to so many podcasts about, business and creating businesses. And there's one called the Smart Passive Income podcast. And Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V, I would listen to that and just soak it all in and get ideas and write things down. And then there comes that time where you make that choice or decision, like, I'm doing this. When you want something so badly, like, nothing can stop you, I don't think. Yeah, maybe not. I'm not going to be a basketball player, but I don't want to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, within your sphere of what you can do.
I agree, and I think even sometimes you will learn an abundance of stuff from these different materials out there. Whether your thing is, I'm a listening person. I'm not a book person. I love to be listening to something, but I think it gets you on the right frequency a lot of the time, and just having something. I remember there used to be this guy who used to have this book, I say a guy who used to have a book, that's a really bad way to say. There was an author who had a book who recorded it as a podcast, and he was called Richard Denny, and every day I would walk into work and he'd talking this, you are the best salesperson, and what you need to do in sales is this. And it used to get me pumped up in the morning, and I used to go into work and it just used to get me in the right zone. And, I think there's a lot to be said for that. But Emma, yes. If people, it's been a beautiful conversation and it's so interesting, but if people want to find out more about you or indeed the School of Scratch, where can they go to?
School of Scratch is at schoolofscratch.com, and my personal coaching website is emmaholmescoaching.com.
And we haven't even had time to talk about the life coaching. So do you want to give us a brief synopsis of the life coaching you do? Because it's about learning to create a more deliberate life. I hope I haven't taken the big title away from you there, but tell us a bit about that, because I think what the work you do there is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So basically, I hired a coach to help me when I felt like I'd gone as far as I could on my own in my business. I didn't know anyone around me, and that really helped me expand. And I loved how that helped me with my mindset, and I wanted to do the exact same thing for other people. So anybody that wants to make a change or create something, they'll come to me, we'll talk, we'll see what's going on in their world, what are their, limiting beliefs, what's going on inside, and together we help them step into what's next and really take those deliberate steps to create what it is they want.
And I think there's so much to be said for a mentor. Unfortunately, I never asked for a mentor until I was probably 8 years into my business journey, because I thought I had to figure it all out myself. Now, looking back, I wish I'd gone to someone who could have helped me in that way. So, Emma, I wish you all the best with the School of Scratch, the Queen of Scratch herself, Emma Holmes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason. I've loved talking to you. You're amazing.
Oh, you too. That's Emma Holmes from Southwest in the UK from the School of Scratch. I'm Jason Connolly. This is the Career Success Podcast. Until next time, goodbye.